Did Ona Batlle really betray FC Barcelona? One thing is true, her departure created an emotional divide between some supporters and a player they believed would become one of the club's next great references. And this emotional divide was about to become even bigger after an event that completely changed Arsenal's image in European football. The 2025 Champions League final. The moment when Barcelona realized that Arsenal was no longer just an outsider, but a true threat. For many years, when people talked about the biggest European threats to FC Barcelona women, one name constantly came up: Chelsea and Lyon. The London club had become Barcelona's main obstacle in England, a team used to big occasions, a team built to win, a team with a winning mentality. But in football, the balance of power is always changing, and sometimes, a club that nobody considers the favorite can suddenly become a real danger. That is exactly what happened with Arsenal. For a long time, Arsenal was a historic institution in women's football, a club with an incredible tradition, a club that had dominated Europe in the early 2000s. But in the modern era, between 2017 and 2024, Arsenal had lost some of its European influence. The club was still respected, but it was no longer considered a team capable of dominating the continent. Meanwhile, Barcelona was building a true dynasty: European finals, domestic trophies, legendary players, a style of play recognized all over the world. Barça seemed to be several steps ahead, but in 2025, something changed. Arsenal arrived at a moment when very few people truly believed in their chances, and it is often in those moments that the greatest stories are created. The final that changed Arsenal's image. FC Barcelona had a clear objective: to write even more history, to win a third consecutive Champions League title, an achievement that would have confirmed the club's absolute dominance over European women's football. But standing in their way was Arsenal. A team with fewer recent achievements, a team with less certainty, but a team with incredible belief, and that confidence also came from the players inside the squad. Arsenal had players capable of performing under pressure, players who truly believed Barcelona could be defeated, and among them was someone who knew Barça better than almost anyone: Ona Batlle. The connection between the past and a new challenge for Barcelona supporters. Ona represents a completely different story. She was not just a talented player, she was part of the recent identity of the club. For years, she wore the Barcelona shirt. She experienced the transformation of the team. She participated in the club's greatest successes. She knew the difficult moments. She knew the pressure. She knew the mentality required to win. When she joined Arsenal, many supporters understood her decision. Why? Because her departure felt more like a new chapter in an already legendary career at the club. She had given so much to Barça. She had written her story. She left with the respect of a large part of the fans, but her arrival at Arsenal also brought something valuable: a deep understanding of how Barcelona worked. She knew how the team thought, how they prepared for big matches, how they reacted under pressure, and that experience certainly helped strengthen Arsenal's confidence. After that final, a new reality appeared. Arsenal was no longer just a historic team. It was no longer only a club with a great past. It was a team capable of defeating the European champions, a team capable of attracting important players, a team capable of competing with Barcelona. And in this context, Ona Battle's arrival at Arsenal took on an even bigger meaning. Why Barcelona supporters felt hurt. To understand the anger of some Barcelona supporters, you have to understand their relationship with players developed by the club. Masia represents much more than a training academy. It represents an identity, a philosophy, an emotional connection. When a player from this system succeeds, supporters feel a special sense of pride. They do not see only a professional footballer. They see someone who represents their football culture. That is why Ona Battle's departure was harder to accept. Some supporters did not simply see a player changing clubs. They saw a player developed by Barcelona joining a direct competitor. And on top of that, after only 3 seasons, the comparison with Ona Batlle became unavoidable. Both players left Barcelona for Arsenal, but the perception is not the same. Why? Because their stories at the club are different. Ona had a long relationship with Barcelona. She was considered a historic figure. Ona, meanwhile, was still building her legacy. Supporters imagined that she would become one of the main faces of Barcelona's future. Her departure therefore left a feeling of an unfinished story. The question that remains, ultimately, this situation raises a bigger question about modern football. Should a player remain loyal to the club that developed her, or should she always choose what is best for her career? In today's football, supporters' emotions and players' professional decisions often collide. Ona Batlle may not have wanted to hurt Barcelona, but her decision had consequences. She strengthened a team that became a new threat to her former club. And now, every match between Barcelona and Arsenal will carry an additional story, because it will no longer be just a football match. It will also be the return of a player who was destined to represent Barca's future, but who ultimately chose to write a new chapter of her story in London. After looking at the entire story of Ona Batlle, one question remains at the center of the debate. Did Ona Batlle really betray FC Barcelona? The answer probably depends on who you ask. For some Barcelona supporters, the pain is real. They do not simply see a player changing clubs. They see a La Masia graduate, a player who understood the value of this shirt, a player who returned home after growing and developing somewhere else. They imagined a different story. They imagined Ona Batlle becoming the future reference on Barcelona's right side, a player who would write her name into the history of the club. But instead, after only 3 seasons, she decided to leave, and above all, she chose Arsenal, a team that is no longer simply a historic club with a great past, a team that now represents a real threat to Barcelona's European ambitions. And that is where the biggest frustration among supporters comes from. It is not just about a departure. It is about seeing an important player join a direct competitor. But on the other hand, there is another way to look at this story. Ona Batlle is a professional footballer. A football career is short. Every decision can change a player's journey. Every contract represents an important choice. She may have simply felt that a new challenge was necessary. Maybe she wanted to experience something different. Maybe she wanted to step outside her comfort zone. Maybe she wanted to write a new chapter of her own story. And that does not necessarily mean that she lacks respect for FC Barcelona. Because one thing is certain, Ona Batlle would never have reached this level without Barça. But Barça would also never have benefited from her talent without the choices she made throughout her career. Her move to Levante, her experience at Manchester United, her years away from Catalonia, all of these steps helped build the player she has become today. Modern football and loyalty. This situation also shows another reality of modern football. Today, loyalty still exists, but it has changed. Supporters want to see long stories, players who become symbols, careers similar to the legends of the past. But players also have their own personal ambitions. They want to improve, to win, to discover new challenges, to make the best decisions for their future. And sometimes, these two visions collide. That is exactly what is happening with Ona Batlle. For some, she should have stayed and built her legacy at Barça. For others, she had every right to choose Arsenal. Maybe there is not one single truth, only 2 different perspectives. The final chapter has not been written yet. The only certainty today is that the story between Ona Batlle and Barcelona is not over. Because in football, paths often cross again. A match against her former club, a European encounter, a decisive moment. And in those moments, all the emotions will return. The memories, the criticism, but also the respect for a player who has contributed to the growth of women's football. So maybe the real question is not, did Ona Batlle betray Barcelona? Maybe the real question is, does modern football still allow love stories between a club and its players to last forever? Now it is your turn to decide. Do you think Ona Batlle made a normal career decision? Or do you believe that a player developed by La Masia should never strengthen a direct rival of Barça? Share your opinion in the comments. Do not forget to subscribe to follow all the biggest stories in European football, because behind every transfer, there is not only a contract, there is a story, there are emotions, and sometimes, a controversy that will remain in the memory of supporters for a long time.